Jerusalem's Last Light, the story of Baldwin IV, read and published by Mr. Books. The history of the Crusades is imbued with tales of valor, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of power. Among the myriad figures who shaped this tumultuous period, none evoke as much intrigue as Baldwin IV of Jerusalem, the illustrious boy king who ascended to the throne amidst a tumultuous landscape in the late 12th century. Jerusalem's Last Light, the story of Baldwin IV, delves into the life of this remarkable monarch, whose reign was marked by the struggles of a kingdom beset on all sides by enemies and internal strife. Baldwin IV, born in 1161, is a figure cloaked in both tragedy and legend. Ascending to the throne at the tender age of 13, he faced monumental challenges, most prominently the looming threat of Saladin, the Sultan who would ultimately reshape the political landscape of the Holy Land. However, Baldwin's reign was not only defined by this relentless external pressure, it was also a time of complex internal dynamics that saw power struggles and betrayals within his own court. The boy king displayed an unparalleled blend of military acumen and political sophistication, managing to hold his kingdom together against overwhelming odds while battling the debilitating effects of leprosy. Jerusalem's Last Light chronicles Baldwin's journey, highlighting his strategic battles and the fragile alliances he forged to maintain his kingdom's sovereignty. Each chapter sheds light on the unique aspects of his character, portraying him not merely as a king, but as a human who bore the weight of his responsibilities with grace, despite his suffering. The narrative is structured to provide readers with a comprehensive view of the historical context surrounding Baldwin IV, exploring the significance of his reign within the broader framework of the Crusades. Moreover, this book contemplates the legacy left behind by Baldwin IV, reflecting on how his fight against Saladin and his attempts at diplomacy have reverberated through history, culminating not just in a tale of loss, but also of perseverance and resilience. While Baldwin's kingdom ultimately succumbed to external pressure and internal discord, his legacy endures as a symbol of a formidable yet fleeting chapter in the history of Jerusalem. As we embark on this exploration, we invite you to journey back to the 12th century to witness the trials and tribulations of one of history's most enigmatic figures. Through meticulous research and vivid storytelling, Jerusalem's Last Light, the story of Baldwin IV, aims to illuminate a past that, while shrouded in darkness, ultimately heralds the resilience of the human spirit. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Crusader Kingdom, a historical overview. The Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem was established in the aftermath of the First Crusade, which successfully captured the city in 1099. This monumental event set the stage for 2 centuries of Crusader rule in the region, characterized by a unique blend of Western European and Middle Eastern cultures. The early years of the kingdom were marked by further military campaigns, significant territorial expansion, and the establishment of powerful castles that served as both military fortifications and administrative centers. The Kingdom of Jerusalem underwent rapid developments in its structure and governance. Initially, the realm was characterized by a feudal system, wherein territories were granted to knights and lords who pledged loyalty to the king. The diverse population comprised not only the native Christians, but also a significant number of Muslims and Jews, which created a complex societal fabric. The ruling elite were primarily of Frankish descent, advanced in their military exploits, while grappling with the realities of coexistence and governance in a land rich with diverse religions and cultures. Central to maintaining control over this crucible of conflict was the king, whose authority was both secular and spiritual. The figure of the king embodied the hopes of the Christian populace, while representing a critical defense against the surrounding Islamic powers. The challenges of governing such a kingdom were manifold, as local conflicts, power struggles, and the constant threat from Muslim leaders loomed large. Baldwin IV ascended to the throne in a period marked by these complexities. After a series of intelligent marriages and alliances formed by his predecessors, the groundwork was laid for Baldwin's reign. His early years were shadowed by political machinations and the constant specter of military conflict with Saladin, a formidable adversary whose ambition to unify the Islamic territories posed an existential threat to the division of Jerusalem and its surrounding areas. Amidst ongoing warfare, the succession of Baldwin IV as a leprous king was both a personal and political quandary. The royal family sought to preserve their lineage, and in Baldwin IV's case, his military capabilities were often at odds with his physical limitations due to the illness that afflicted him. Yet, in the face of adversity, Baldwin's tactical decisions and leadership qualities earned him respect among both allies and adversaries. His ability to command the loyalty of his troops stood as a testament to his character, despite his frail state. Throughout Baldwin IV's reign, the kingdom faced several pivotal moments. Key battles, such as the Battle of Montgizard in 1177, highlight his military ingenuity and ability to inspire his forces. These dramatic encounters not only shaped his legacy, but also defined the nature of Crusader resistance against the forces of Saladin. In essence, the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem was not merely a battleground, it was a melting pot of culture, faith, and ambition. The dynamic between the European settlers and their Muslim counterparts offered fertile ground for rich narratives of conflict and cooperation. Baldwin IV's story unfolds within this broader tapestry, as we witness a young boy's extraordinary resolve as he navigates the complexities of kingship in a land steeped in turmoil. As we delve deeper into Baldwin IV's life, we will explore the intricacies of his reign, the battles fought, and the crucial alliances forged in an attempt to preserve both Jerusalem and his fragile legacy. We begin with his ascension to the throne, a pivotal moment that altered the course of both his life and the history of the Crusader kingdom. Chapter 2. Baldwin IV, the Boy King's Ascendancy. Baldwin IV was born into a world rife with conflict and expectation, as the grandson of Godfrey of Bouillon, one of the leaders of the First Crusade. His lineage positioned him as a symbol of the hope for Christian control over Jerusalem, but it also carried the weight of immense responsibility from a young age. Baldwin's early life was intricately woven with the legacy of his forebears, imbuing him with the qualities and expectations of a noble warrior king. His childhood was far from tranquil. The tumultuous political landscape of the Crusader states continuously pressured the young prince. As Baldwin grew, he witnessed the fraught relationships within the nobility, where allegiances shifted like sand. These early experiences would prove to be significant influences on his future decisions and governance style. His mother, Agnes of Courtenay, played a crucial role in his early education and formative years, instilling in him both the lessons of courage and the realities of political maneuvering. At the age of 13, Baldwin IV's life transformed dramatically when he ascended to the throne following the death of his uncle, King Amalric I. His coronation in 1174 was not merely a ceremonial affair. It was a solemn recognition of the burdensome reality awaiting the young king. The kingdom was teetering on the edge of chaos, with the ambitious Saladin poised to exploit any weakness within the Crusader ranks. Elected king amidst a backdrop of vulnerability, Baldwin IV faced the daunting task of asserting his authority. Many in his court doubted his ability to navigate the treacherous waters of leadership due to his young age and crippling illness. However, Baldwin quickly demonstrated that while he may have been a boy, he possessed the heart of a lion. His acute awareness of the political landscape allowed him to form alliances with influential nobles, as he sought to stabilize his rule amid growing tensions both within and outside Jerusalem. One of Baldwin's first significant decisions as king was to appoint trusted advisors who were not only loyal, but also politically astute. Figures such as the influential military leader, Reynold of Htulon, infused a sense of aggression in dealing with Muslim forces. Baldwin understood that strength would be required if he was to maintain control, leading him to take bold steps to counteract Saladin's advances. The ambitious Reynold's aggressive policies, while sometimes reckless, bolstered Baldwin's reputation as a king willing to defend his realm fiercely. In 1176, Baldwin's leadership was put to the test when Saladin launched a series of raids aimed at crippling Crusader lines of defense. Baldwin displayed remarkable strategy, and although he was physically weakened by illness, he led his troops with determination. His legendary victory at the Battle of Montgizard in 1177, despite being outnumbered, serves as a testament to his tactical brilliance and audacity. The battle became a symbol of Christian resistance against overwhelming odds, marking a high point in Baldwin's reign. Baldwin IV's ascendance was marked not only by military might, but also by an appreciation for diplomacy. Understanding the need to secure Jerusalem's defenses, he often sought negotiations. His efforts to forge alliances with neighboring Christian states exemplified a more measured approach to kingship, recognizing that while military campaigns were crucial, so too was the art of diplomacy in preserving his kingdom's fragile peace. As Baldwin's reign progressed, the specter of his illness began to loom larger over his kingship. Diagnosed with leprosy, Baldwin faced growing concerns about his fitness to rule, propelling discussions about succession to the forefront of court politics. He struggled not only against external foes, but also within his own family and court, balancing his obligations as a king with the reality of his deteriorating health. His illness made him more acutely aware of the need for a successor, thus intensifying political alliances and rifts within the nobility. In conclusion, Baldwin IV's ascendancy as the boy king was a complex interplay of strength, strategy, and resilience against a backdrop of uncertainty. His ability to navigate the political and military landscape of the time marked him as a unique figure in the annals of Crusader history. As we will explore in the following chapters, Baldwin's leadership and the challenges posed by Saladin would continue to define not just his reign, but the fate of Jerusalem itself. Chapter 3. The Rise of Saladin, the Opponent. The emergence of Saladin as a formidable force in the late 12th century marked a significant shift in the balance of power in the Holy Land. Born in Tikrit around 1137, Saladin rose through the ranks with remarkable speed due to his military prowess and astute political acumen. His rapid ascent was fueled by a decisive combination of charisma, strategic marriages, and military initiatives, allowing him to unite disparate Muslim factions against a common foe, the Crusaders. After consolidating power in Egypt, Saladin launched a campaign to expand his influence over the Levant, presenting a direct challenge to the existence of the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem. As Baldwin IV took the throne, Saladin had already established himself as a central figure in the Muslim world. His reputation further enhanced by a series of successful military operations against Crusader outposts. The backdrop of rivalry and animosity between Baldwin's fledgling reign and Saladin's ambitions set the stage for an epic confrontation over the heart of Jerusalem. Saladin's defining characteristic was his commitment to jihad, a term that transcended mere military ambition and encompassed a spiritual and moral duty to reclaim Muslim-held territories. His vision of Islamic unity resonated with many, allowing him to forge a coalition that significantly increased his military capacity, bringing together various factions who often viewed their differences as secondary to the greater objective of facing the Crusaders. Unlike many of his predecessors, Saladin sought not only territorial expansion, but also the restoration of Islamic authority in the region. This ideological fervor became a rallying point against the Crusaders. Saladin's campaign strategy involved methodical intelligence gathering and the deployment of battlefield strategies that emphasized the strengths of his forces while exploiting the weaknesses of his opponents. By taking advantage of the disunity among the Crusaders, he orchestrated raids and skirmishes that undermined their morale and territorial stability. His campaigns were characterized by a deep understanding of the terrain, utilizing ambush tactics and rapid strikes that kept the Crusader forces off balance. Baldwin's early successes against Saladin in battles, such as Montgizard, exemplified both kings' contrasting styles. While Baldwin excelled in direct confrontations through rapid and decisive military action, Saladin's overarching goals were achieved through a mix of attrition and psychological warfare. His ability to engage in diplomacy, even as he prepared for war, allowed him to win the support of neutral factions and instill fear into his adversaries. Despite early setbacks against Baldwin IV, Saladin's resolve never wavered. He understood that to finally regain Jerusalem, he needed both military victories and public support among the Muslim populace. The retaking of key fortresses became a priority as Saladin methodically dismantled Crusader defenses and destabilized their supply lines. His capacity for patience and tactical flexibility often contrasted with the more impetuous nature of Crusader commanders. One significant turning point came with the massive military campaign launched by Saladin in 1187. This culminated in the confrontation at the Battle of Hattin, where Baldwin IV, weakened and unable to lead from the front, faced Saladin's well-coordinated forces. The battle resulted in a devastating defeat for the Crusaders, allowing Saladin to capture the Templar and Hospitaller Knights, who had long been the backbone of Crusader military efforts. The fall of Hattin not only obliterated Crusader morale, but also paved the way for Saladin's subsequent capture of Jerusalem later that year. Saladin's ascendant strategy was not merely confined to military conquest. It also involved a keener awareness of propaganda and the value of perception in warfare. He positioned himself as the champion of Islamic unity, framing his campaign against the Crusaders as a sacred duty. This narrative resonated deeply within the Muslim community, garnering him widespread support and portraying the Crusaders as foreign invaders. Ultimately, the rise of Saladin represented a confluence of military tactics, political savvy, and ideological conviction. His legacy, imprinted upon the sands of Jerusalem, would resonate long after Baldwin IV's reign came to an end. The battles fought between them were not merely of men, they were a clash of ideologies, shaping the future of the Holy Land for generations to come. As the saga unfolds, we will explore the key battles and alliances formed during this period, and how the intertwined fates of Baldwin IV and Saladin would irrevocably alter the course of history. Chapter 4: Battles and Betrayals. Key conflicts in Baldwin's reign. The reign of Baldwin IV was punctuated by a series of brutal conflicts and political intrigues that defined the landscape of the Crusader kingdom. The young king's ability to navigate this tumult, battling both external foes and internal discord, would ultimately shape his legacy as a ruler. This chapter explores the key battles during Baldwin's reign and the complex webs of loyalty and betrayal that emerged within his court. One of the most notable conflicts was the Battle of Montgizard in 1177. Faced with a vastly superior army, led by Saladin, Baldwin's forces were outnumbered and pressured heavily. Yet, driven by a fierce desire to defend his realm, Baldwin displayed extraordinary tactical insight. Utilizing the element of surprise, Baldwin launched a counter-offensive that resulted in a remarkable victory. His leadership in bringing together a diverse coalition of knights and local soldiers revealed his ability to inspire loyalty, even in dire circumstances. The triumph at Montgizard not only boosted Crusader morale, but also reiterated Baldwin's prowess as a military leader. However, such victories were often marred by the continuous threat posed by Saladin's forces. The ongoing skirmishes served to underscore the precariousness of Baldwin IV's hold on Jerusalem. Each battle revealed chinks in the armor of his kingdom, as political maneuverings and personal rivalries within the court often destabilized his rule. Figures such as Reynold of Tillon, whose actions sometimes ran counter to Baldwin's strategic aims, created a fractious environment that complicated the king's military mission. Reynold's predilection for aggressive raids against Muslim caravans further strained Baldwin's diplomatic relations. While his endeavors to maintain a robust defense over Christian territories won him supporters, they also attracted Saladin's ire. The tensions reached a boiling point when Baldwin, recognizing the need for a unified front, was forced to restrain the reckless actions of Reynold, even as he acknowledged the latter's potential contributions on the battlefield. The betrayal of loyalties and shifting allegiances among Baldwin's vassals further complicated his reign. Noble families often sought to leverage their influence for personal gain, diminishing the solidarity necessary for effectively countering Saladin. The notorious disputes between factions within the court, particularly between the Ibelin family and the royal authority, exacerbated the instability. Baldwin had to walk a fine line, offering concessions to powerful lords while simultaneously reinforcing his kingship, a task that proved increasingly difficult. As Baldwin's illness progressed, the specter of succession loomed large over the crown. His leprosy not only incapacitated him physically, but also symbolized the vulnerabilities of the Crusader kingdom. Political machinations took center stage as powerful nobles vied for influence, each positioning themselves in expectation of Baldwin's potential demise. The struggles for power during his reign often resembled a game of chess, with advisors and relatives maneuvering to secure their foothold in a kingdom on the brink. In 1183, Baldwin's condition forced him to name his sister Sibylla and her son as heirs to the throne. This decision birthed a new set of political complications as various factions rallied around Sibylla, creating rivalries that would have lasting consequences for the stability of Jerusalem. The internal strife, compounded by external threats, painted the realm into a precarious corner, straining Baldwin's authority even further. The capture of Jerusalem by Saladin in 1187 marked the culmination of these conflicts, with Baldwin IV unable to present a united front against the formidable strategist. The subsequent loss of Jerusalem would shatter the hope and vision Baldwin had for his kingdom. The years of battles fought and the betrayals propagated within his court served to highlight the fragility of leadership in a period defined by strife and uncertainty. Ultimately, Baldwin IV's reign is characterized not only by the warfare against Saladin, but also by the constant power struggles within his kingdom. The narrative of his reign exemplifies the tumult of an era where battles were fought not only on the battlefield, but within the very halls of power. The lessons derived from these conflicts and betrayals would reverberate through history, leaving an indelible mark on the fate of Jerusalem and its people. In the subsequent chapters, we will delve deeper into the specific alliances forged amid the chaos of impending warfare and examine how Baldwin IV's leadership decisions influenced the summer of 1187, a season that would forever alter the legacy of both the boy, king and the city of Jerusalem. Chapter 5. The Influence of Diplomacy, Alliances, and Enemies. In the arena of medieval politics, the significance of diplomacy cannot be overstated, particularly within the context of Baldwin IV's reign. Despite the rampant militarism characteristic of the Crusades, diplomatic efforts emerged as critical tools for maintaining stability in the face of external threats and internal discord. This chapter examines the intricate maneuvering Baldwin undertook to forge and maintain alliances, as well as the enemies he encountered along the way. Baldwin IV ascended to the throne during a time of heightened tension, where every political decision could have significant repercussions. Almost immediately, he faced the daunting task of shoring up support among the nobility whose loyalties wavered like reeds in the wind. Understanding the delicate balance of power among the Crusader states, Baldwin sought to create a network of alliances that spanned beyond mere military cooperation. One of his most successful diplomatic efforts involved the negotiation of alliances with neighboring Christian states. Baldwin forged a particularly strong relationship with the County of Tripoli and the Principality of Antioch, aiming to unify the fragmented military forces of the Crusaders in anticipation of an impending confrontation with Saladin. The mutual interest in safeguarding their territories allowed Baldwin to harness collective resources and manpower, bolstering his military capabilities. Baldwin IV also astutely recognized the importance of relations with the Byzantine Empire. Seeking to mend the rifts left by prior crusading efforts, Baldwin communicated with Byzantine officials to foster goodwill, thereby ensuring that the Eastern Orthodox faith could be a dependable ally against the increasingly unified Muslim front led by Saladin. This diplomatic maneuvering was vital in securing military assistance and maintaining supply lines crucial for the defense of the kingdom. Furthermore, Baldwin capitalized on opportunities for marriage alliances to strengthen his position. The arrangement of marriages served as political instruments to bind adversarial factions together, often leading to a pragmatic sharing of power. For instance, Baldwin considered marrying his sister Sibylla to influential noblemen, thereby solidifying their loyalty while ensuring that the succession of the crown remained within the family. Although these marriages may not have materialized as intended, the intention to use familial ties as a means of consolidating power demonstrated Baldwin's understanding of the complex fabric of medieval politics. However, Baldwin's diplomatic efforts often faced daunting challenges. As Saladin rose to power, Baldwin was tasked with forging strategic alliances, not just with fellow Christians, but also managing relationships within his court, where loyalties were often fickle. The influence of Reynold of Tillon, whose aggressive tactics alienated potential allies, underscored the complex interplay between diplomacy and military action. Baldwin's efforts to temper Reynold's impulsiveness often put him at odds with his own commanders, illustrating the challenges inherent in balancing collaboration and individual ambitions. Baldwin's attempts at diplomatic dialogue with Saladin also highlighted the complexities of war and peace. He endeavored to establish terms of peace when possible, recognizing the need for a breather from constant conflict in order to stabilize his realm. These efforts ranged from tentative negotiations to overtures for joint military engagements against common foes, though they often met with limited success. Saladin, motivated by a broader vision of Islamic unity and dominion over Jerusalem, was not interested in prolonging an ongoing stalemate. Despite these challenges, Baldwin remained determined to use diplomacy as a tool against the looming threat of Saladin. His attempts at forming coalitions among the various factions of the Muslim world, whether through conciliatory gestures towards local Muslim leaders or cultivating relationships with rival factions, demonstrated a nuanced understanding of the broader geopolitical landscape. Diplomacy, as Baldwin would come to learn, had its vicissitudes, requiring adaptability and foresight to navigate the shifting allegiances. Ultimately, the trajectory of Baldwin IV's reign was marked by the interaction of diplomacy and warfare. The alliances forged during these years shaped the responses to the challenges posed by Saladin, while the constant flux of relationships on both the Christian and Muslim sides underscored the brittle fabric of peace. Baldwin's story illustrates how a commitment to diplomacy could provide a respite from warfare, even amid the chaos of geopolitical rivalry. In the subsequent chapters, we will further explore the personal dynamics of his reign and the eventual challenges that would eclipse Baldwin's diplomatic triumphs, especially as he faced the advancing tide of Saladin's forces. Chapter 6: A Kingdom in Decline, the Impact of Illness. As Baldwin IV's health began to deteriorate due to leprosy, the repercussions were felt far beyond his personal suffering. The disease, which first manifested in his youth, not only ravaged his body, but also critically impaired his capacity to rule effectively over a kingdom that was already beset by external threats and internal divisions. This chapter focuses on the profound impact of Baldwin's illness on the governance of the Crusader kingdom, illustrating how his deteriorating condition influenced political dynamics, military strategies, and ultimately the fate of Jerusalem. Initially, Baldwin's illness was managed with remarkable discretion. The young king was especially adept at projecting strength and confidence, essential traits for a leader of a kingdom under siege. His advisors, including the formidable Reynold of Htillon and the wise patriarch Heraclius, played key roles in maintaining the facade of stability, working tirelessly to support the king as he navigated the treacherous waters of medieval politics. They sought to bolster Baldwin's authority, ensuring that he could still command respect both at home and abroad. However, as the years passed, Baldwin's leprosy inevitably progressed. His physical limitations became apparent, prompting increasing concern among his subjects and allies. Meetings of the council became fraught with uncertainty. Decisions that required swift execution lagged, as each consultation took longer than the last. This delay alarmed noble families and military leaders, who began to question Baldwin's fitness to rule. The king unflinchingly dealt with political challenges, including the ever-looming threat of Saladin. However, with each military campaign, the fact that he could not lead from the front, as he once had, became increasingly evident. The battles saw mixed outcomes, many of which fell short of the Crusader hopes for reclaiming lost lands. The infighting among the nobility, once kept in check by Baldwin's presence and charisma, began to surface. Factions formed, and aspirations for greater power flared among those closest to the king. During these tumultuous times, dissent grew among the lords, who had grown impatient, waiting for Baldwin's decisive leadership that now was increasingly compromised. Moreover, Baldwin IV's illness brought forth issues of succession. The king had not fathered an heir, and concerns were growing about the future of the kingdom. He had named his half-sister Sibylla's son, Baldwin V, as his potential successor. However, the young child's status was uncertain, especially given the volatile political landscape. The lack of a strong, experienced heir further destabilized the situation and pushed the nobility to vie for influence. The looming crisis of succession left the kingdom vulnerable, just as pressures from Saladin's forces escalated. As Baldwin grappled with his disease, he sought to counterbalance his declining health with shrewd diplomacy. His legacy included a series of marriages and alliances meant to bridge the rifts that threatened to shatter his kingdom. Yet these diplomatic efforts were impeded by the fracturing loyalties of a restless nobility eager to assert their claims to power. The emotional and psychological toll of Baldwin's illness cannot be overstated. Chronic pain, physical deterioration, and the specter of inevitable mortality weighed heavily on a ruler who had once exhibited vigor and ambition. He held council meetings with an increasingly somber demeanor, guiding discussions from his throne while battling the fear of relinquishing his authority. Every decision he made reflected the tension between his desires for the kingdom and the limitations imposed by his condition. Ultimately, Baldwin's declining health served as a harbinger for the fall of the Crusader kingdom. As he became more incapacitated, the kingdom's grip on Jerusalem loosened, setting the stage for a power shift that would end in tragedy for the inhabitants of the city. As Baldwin IV's light dimmed, the challenges of maintaining unity in the face of adversity grew more acute, all while the shadows of Saladin's ambitions grew longer. In conclusion, Baldwin IV's battle against leprosy epitomized the struggle of a kingdom at risk, struggling against disease, dissent, and disintegration at a critical juncture in its history. His illness not only marked the decline of a once vibrant reign, but also foreshadowed the catastrophic unraveling of the Crusader kingdom in Jerusalem, paving the way for the gradual resurgence of Muslim power as embodied by Saladin. Chapter 7: Legacy and Memory, Baldwin IV after his death. The legacy of Baldwin IV transcends beyond his tragic suffering and premature death. It serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities surrounding leadership, power, and mortality. Following his demise in 1185, the narrative surrounding Baldwin evolved, intertwining with the hopes, fears, and narratives of both contemporaries and subsequent generations. This chapter seeks to explore the intricate tapestry of Baldwin IV's legacy, examining how his life and reign influenced the political landscape of the Holy Land and shaped historical perceptions of his rule. After Baldwin's death, the vacuum of power created by the absence of a strong ruler triggered a tumultuous succession crisis. The throne passed to Baldwin V, Baldwin's young nephew, whose youth and inexperience, coupled with the existing divisions among the nobility, led to further instability. Baldwin IV's legacy became enshrined in the chaotic atmosphere that followed, illustrating the fragility of the Crusader kingdom he had fought so hard to sustain. Contemporary accounts present Baldwin IV as a complex figure, brave, compassionate, yet tragic in his inability to conquer the dual enemy of illness and political fragmentation. Chroniclers of the era, such as William of Tyre, documented his struggles, depicting him not merely as a king afflicted with a dreadful disease, but as a figure of great moral strength and unwavering devotion to his people. His suffering garnered sympathy, turning him into a noble martyr whose life story became emblematic of the broader struggles of the Crusader cause. Baldwin IV's relationship with his subjects also left a profound impression. Histories portray him as a benevolent king who, despite his illness, remained committed to the welfare of his realm. His charitable actions and efforts to foster unity among his subjects left a mark on Jerusalem's populace, who revered him. This reverence led to the emergence of legends and oral traditions glorifying Baldwin after his passing, narratives emphasizing his tenacity and spirit, often romanticizing his endeavors in the face of overwhelming adversity. The dichotomy between Baldwin IV's personal afflictions and his capacity to rule produced symbolic meanings that resonated through time. His struggle against leprosy, perceived as both a literal and metaphorical battle against decay, served as a powerful allegory for the fate of the Crusader kingdom itself. Historians have often remarked that Baldwin's reign mirrored the larger decline of Christian rule in the East, with his illness serving as a foreboding sign of the inevitable demise that would follow. In the Muslim world, Baldwin IV was acknowledged as a worthy adversary. Saladin's own writings reflect a grudging respect for the leprous king, casting him not merely as a foe to vanquish, but as a formidable warrior who defended his realm fiercely. This acknowledgement illustrates the complexities of conflict and the mutual recognition of bravery shared by leaders on both sides. As the centuries turned, Baldwin IV's legacy continued to evolve. From the raw accounts of medieval chroniclers to modern historical interpretations, he remained a figure of intrigue and reflection. Scholars and writers have revisited his life through plays, novels, and films, interpreting his narrative to explore themes of courage, sacrifice, and human frailty. This enduring fascination demonstrates how Baldwin IV, despite his personal suffering, became an enduring symbol of the complex relationship between leadership and mortality. In modern times, Baldwin IV is often discussed in the context of leadership ethics and the burdens borne by rulers. His struggles evoke discussions on the responsibilities of leaders to their people, especially when facing insurmountable challenges. This dialogue shifts focus from Baldwin merely as a historical figure to an archetype of the leader grappling with personal and political crises, inviting reflections on resilience and the human spirit. By weaving together the historical and the legend, Baldwin IV's legacy emerges as a rich tapestry, his life story casting a long shadow over the history of the Crusades and the fabric of Jerusalem's narrative. As historians continue to explore the significance of his reign, Baldwin IV remains a compelling figure whose life underscores the inherent vulnerabilities of leadership while symbolizing the enduring quest for hope in the face of despair. Chapter 8: Jerusalem's Fate, the End of an Era. In the closing years of the 12th century, as Baldwin IV's reign came to an end, the world watched with bated breath. The events following his death marked a significant turning point in the history of Jerusalem and the Crusader kingdom, culminating in a dramatic reshaping of power in the Holy Land. This chapter examines the inexorable decline of the Crusader foothold following Baldwin's demise, analyzing the pivotal events that led to the city's fall and the eventual rise of Saladin's forces. Baldwin IV's death in 1185 was not merely a personal loss, but a symbolic fracture within the fabric of the Crusader response to the Islamic resurgence. His successor, Baldwin V, faced insurmountable challenges, most notably his youth and lack of experience in the realms of military strategy and political diplomacy. The factions within the nobility, emboldened by Baldwin IV's absence, further exacerbated the kingdom's instability. Internal disputes and power struggles intensified, creating an environment ripe for exploitation by external forces. Saladin, the brilliant Muslim leader and tactician, seized upon this instability. With a keen awareness of the faltering morale among the Crusaders, he capitalized on the opportunity to consolidate his power and unify disparate Muslim factions under his banner. Saladin's charisma and strategic acumen enabled him to launch coordinated campaigns against the fractured Crusader state. The tensions culminated in the Battle of Hattin in 1187, a catastrophic defeat for the Crusaders that crystallized the demise of Baldwin IV's legacy. The Battle of Hattin marked a pivotal juncture in the relationship between the Crusaders and Muslims, culminating in the siege and eventual surrender of Jerusalem just months later. The defeat was not merely military, it was emblematic of the ideological and spiritual disintegration that had taken hold among the Crusader ranks. Saladin, in his campaign to reclaim Jerusalem, exhibited a profound understanding of the psychological dimensions of war. His forces, fueled by unity and purpose, were able to exploit the discord within the Crusader ranks effectively. As Jerusalem fell, the implications reverberated across Europe and the Muslim world alike. For Christians, the loss of the Holy City represented a shattering blow to their faith, while for Muslims, it served as a rallying point, a symbol of a reclaimed identity. The capture of Jerusalem by Saladin in 1187 not only signified the end of an era for the Crusader kingdom, but also ushered in a new chapter in Christian-Muslim relations. In the wake of Jerusalem's fall, Baldwin IV's legacy became a poignant reminder of the fragility of power. His reign, characterized by personal struggle and a valiant defense of the kingdom, had ultimately failed to secure the stability and enduring triumph necessary to maintain control over Jerusalem. The tales of Baldwin's bravery in the face of adversity became entwined with the narrative of loss, morphing into a melancholic tribute to a once great ruler. As history progressed, the legacy of Baldwin IV and the fall of Jerusalem spurred new crusading efforts in the decades to follow, yet none would replicate the fervor and unity that characterized the earlier crusades. The subsequent campaigns, marked by disillusionment and fragmented leadership, further demonstrated the enduring impact of Baldwin IV's tragic reign. In conclusion, the fate of Jerusalem following Baldwin IV's death signifies both an end and a transformation, a reflection on the cyclical nature of power and the intricate interplay between individual destinies and collective histories. As the shadows lengthened in the late 12th century, the tragic story of Baldwin IV's reign continues to resonate, compelling future generations to re-examine the complex legacies left behind by those who dared to rule amidst the crucible of conflict. His narrative beckons us to reflect not only on the transcending influences of history, but also on the enduring human spirit that shapes both our aspirations and our reckonings. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Genghis Khan, the man who conquered the world, reading and published by Mr. Books. In the annals of history, few figures loom as large as Genghis Khan, a man whose name has transcended time and echoed through the ages as a symbol of conquest, strategy, and unyielding ambition. Born as Temujin in the harsh steppes of Mongolia in the late 12th century, he transformed himself from an ostracized child of a fallen noble family into the supreme ruler of the world's largest contiguous empire by the age of 45. His legacy, however, transcends mere militaristic might. It encompasses extraordinary governance, innovative military strategies, and a nuanced approach to diplomacy. This book aims to delve deeply into the multifaceted life and times of Genghis Khan, exploring not only his formidable military conquests, but also the socio-political structures he established and their enduring impacts on subsequent civilizations. The narrative unfolds with an examination of his campaign to conquer China, a task that would define the outline of his empire and demonstrate his tactical genius. From there, the text will advance into the West, illustrating how Khan's relentless pursuit for power reshaped vast regions and forged new cultural landscapes. Moreover, the book will tackle Genghis Khan's legacy and its dichotomy, considering both the destruction wrought by his campaigns and the peace fostered through the Mongol Pax, a period of stability that allowed trade and culture to flourish across Asia and into Europe. The myths surrounding his life, often portrayed through romanticized lenses, are juxtaposed with historical realities that reveal a leader whose ruthlessness was matched only by his innovative governance and fairness. As we navigate through the chapters, we will uncover the threads of innovation and strategy that characterized his military efforts, examining the introduction of feigned retreats, mobility, and psychological warfare that made the Mongol hordes a formidable force. His diplomatic ventures also bear scrutiny, showcasing his keen insight into alliances and political maneuvering that enabled unprecedented expansion without constant warfare. In this journey, we aim not only to paint a portrait of a conqueror, but to understand the complexities that defined his rule and the world he created. Genghis Khan's life story serves as a reflection of human ambition and the enduring quest for power, a narrative that continues to resonate through history and influence our understanding of leadership and governance. Thus, as we embark on this exploration of Genghis Khan, we invite readers to engage with the intriguing interplay of myth and reality in the life of a man who truly conquered the world. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Conquest of China. The conquest of China represents one of the most significant achievements in the ambitious military campaigns led by Genghis Khan. This chapter focuses on the intricate strategies and decisions that not only catalyzed the Mongol invasion, but also set a precedent for subsequent military endeavors across Asia. Genghis Khan's initial forays into China were marked by an astute understanding of the political landscape, which was rife with internal strife among the various warring states. His keen awareness of these dynamics allowed him to exploit divisions among the Chinese dynasties, particularly the Jin dynasty, which was embroiled in conflicts with its rival factions. The Mongol tactics capitalized on speed and precision. Genghis Khan deployed his forces in a manner that employed both frontal assaults and the element of surprise. The Mongol warriors were adept horsemen, and their mobility provided them with strategic advantages on the battlefield. They often engaged in feigned retreats, luring Chinese forces into ambushes, thereby turning the tide in many engagements. By the time the Mongols laid siege to the major Chinese cities, they had developed sophisticated siege tactics that integrated intelligence and psychological warfare. Utilizing their understanding of local customs, the Mongols often offered terms of surrender beforehand, attempting to provoke doubt and discontent among the defenders. Such psychological strategies destabilized morale and often resulted in cities capitulating without a fight. The fall of Beijing marked a critical point in the conquest. The Mongols, through their relentless and calculated invasion, demonstrated a willingness to adopt siege technologies from their enemies, including the construction of catapults and the use of gunpowder-based weaponry, which was foreign to them at the time. This adaptability illustrated Genghis Khan's effective command and the Mongol Empire's evolving military prowess. As the Mongols expanded their control over China, they did not merely aim for territorial conquest. They sought to integrate themselves into the socio-economic fabric of the region. The administrative systems established by Genghis Khan allowed for local rulers to maintain some level of authority, thus ensuring stability and loyalty among newly conquered peoples. This dual approach of military might, combined with political shrewdness, solidified the Mongol presence in China. The chapter will navigate through various battles that defined the Mongol conquest, emphasizing the decisive strategies implemented. The combination of swift mobility, innovative siege tactics, and diplomatic maneuvering laid the groundwork for one of history's most remarkable conquests, further shaping the course of the Mongol Empire. Chapter 2. The expansion into the West. The westward expansion of the Mongol Empire is characterized by its audacity and ambition, as Genghis Khan aimed to extend his rapidly growing dominion beyond the borders of China into the heart of Europe and the Islamic world. This chapter will detail the factors that fueled this expansion, exploring the complex interplay of military brilliance, socio-political factors, and the resultant transformative impacts. As the Mongol Empire solidified its foothold in China, Genghis Khan turned his gaze to the west, where the fragmentation of territories and interstate conflicts provided ripe opportunities for conquest. The lack of cohesive governance allowed the Mongols to exploit divisions among rival kingdoms, delivering swift and brutal expeditions that would mark their entry. One of the pivotal moments of this expansion was the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire in 1219. Following a failed diplomatic mission, resulting in the execution of Mongol envoys. Genghis Khan unleashed his fury upon the Khwarezmian territories. The Mongolian army, characterized by its speed and tactical retreat strategies, advanced rapidly across Central Asia, launching coordinated attacks that caught the Khwarezmian forces off guard. This campaign is particularly notable for its intense focus on intelligence gathering, where scouts were deployed to ascertain enemy positions and morale, driving home how vital information was in Mongol military operations. Moreover, the capture of major cities such as Samarkand and Bukhara illustrated the Mongols' adaptability to urban siege warfare. Craftsmen and artisans from conquered lands were often spared and integrated into Mongol society, enhancing the empire's capabilities in warfare and trade. The Mongols' utilization of siege engines and their adoption of technology developed in siege cities reflected an understanding that power lies in both sword and the knowledge of men. Genghis Khan's campaigns into Persia and beyond into the territories of Eastern Europe also revealed the importance of forming alliances with local tribes disillusioned by existing powers. Utilizing marriage alliances and promises of protection, the Mongols were able to secure truces that expanded their reach without the need for constant military engagement. Through alliances, the Mongols further extended their influence and enabled rapid military movements deep into Europe. The invasion of Russia and the subsequent incursions into Poland and Hungary marked a significant phase of Mongolian endeavors. Forces commanded under Genghis Khan's descendants continued the pace of conquest, further solidifying the Mongol presence in the region. This chapter will chronicle the setbacks and triumphs of the Mongol expeditions into the West, echoing the themes of adaptability and strategic brilliance that defined Genghis Khan's military philosophy. The resulting cultural exchanges, disruptions, and shifts in power dynamics in Europe resonate even to this day, demonstrating the profound effects of Genghis Khan's ambitions. Chapter 3: Legacy and Impact on the World. Genghis Khan's legacy is one of paradoxes, a legacy that encompasses both devastation and progress. His life and conquests have left an indelible mark on world history, influencing societal structures, trade networks, and cultural exchanges across continents. This chapter endeavors to explore the multifaceted dimensions of his legacy, assessing both the immediate and long-term impacts of his rule. At the core of Genghis Khan's legacy is the establishment of a vast empire that, at its height, connected a multitude of cultures and civilizations across Asia and Europe. This unprecedented expanse facilitated trade along the Silk Road, creating an economic network that allowed for the exchange of not only goods, but also ideas, technologies, and philosophies. The Mongol Pax, a term used to describe the relative peace maintained across much of the empire, enabled merchant activities to flourish and improved communication between disparate regions. However, the methods by which Genghis Khan achieved this peace were often brutal and ruthless. Cities that resisted the Mongols faced annihilation, and their populations were decimated. Such practices sowed seeds of fear and ensured compliance, leading many historians to view his conquests through a lens of bloodshed and fear. The duality of his legacy, where progress came at a significant human cost, tests the limits of how we evaluate historical figures. Another notable aspect of Genghis Khan's legacy lies in his innovative approaches to governance. He instituted laws known as the Yasa, which emphasized meritocracy and the importance of loyalty, often transcending traditional aristocratic structures. His policies cultivated an effective administrative network that benefited from the skills of both Mongols and subjected peoples alike. This inclusivity fostered a degree of collaboration that had not been witnessed on such a scale before. Moreover, Genghis Khan's legacy also permeates the realms of culture and religion. The empire was noted for its relatively tolerant stance towards the various beliefs and practices of its subjects, allowing for the coexistence of diverse religious and cultural traditions. This pluralism paved the way for cultural synthesis and exchange, enriching societies across the Mongolian heartland and beyond. Finally, Genghis Khan's legacy continues to resonate in contemporary history. His impact on the formation of modern nations, the geopolitical landscape, and the ongoing discourse about warfare, governance, and human rights invites continual examination. Nearly 8 centuries after his death, he is as often evoked in popular culture and modern politics as he is debated in academic circles, showcasing the lasting relevance of his accomplishments and atrocities. This chapter will assess how Genghis Khan's multifaceted legacy shapes our understanding of global history, examining both the devastating consequences of his conquests and the enduring advancements resulting from his rule. Chapter 4: The Myths and Realities of Genghis Khan. The life of Genghis Khan is steeped in mythology, his deeds embellished and misconstrued through centuries of storytelling and historical interpretation. This chapter seeks to dissect the myths surrounding the great Khan while juxtaposing them against the stark realities of his life and influence. One of the most pervasive myths about Genghis Khan is the notion that he was an unrestrained marauder, driven solely by bloodlust and the desire for conquest. While it is true that his military campaigns were often marked by brutality, modern historical assessments reveal a more complex character. His strategic mind and keen understanding of statecraft were as fundamental to his successes as his ferocity in battle. Indeed, Genghis Khan's conquests were often calculated efforts to expand his territory for both agricultural and economic stability in a harsh environment. Another common myth is centered on the perception of his people, the Mongols, as mere barbarians. This oversimplification neglects the sophisticated culture that thrived under their rule, one that included advanced trade networks and intricate social structures. The Mongols were not merely warriors, they were also traders, diplomats, and intellectuals who fostered innovations in governance and military tactics. By integrating various cultural elements from the regions they conquered, they became architects of a diverse and interconnected empire. The story of Genghis Khan's unity of the Mongolian tribes is often romanticized as a spontaneous and seamless process of unification, overlooking the fierce rivalries and conflicts that characterized the period. His rise to power involved considerable political maneuvering, warfare, and sometimes treachery, even among his kin. It was through a combination of diplomacy, force, and ritual that he was able to unify the tribes under his leadership. Moreover, representations of Genghis Khan's legacy have been pivotal in shaping nationalist narratives within modern Mongolia and beyond. Some portray him as a symbol of Mongolian identity and pride, while others view him through the lens of colonialism, highlighting the devastation suffered by various cultures as a result of his campaigns. This duality in perception reflects ongoing struggles over historical interpretation and cultural memory. In addressing these myths, the chapter will rely on primary historical accounts, archaeological findings, and contemporary scholarship. By sifting through these narratives, we aim to draw a clearer picture of Genghis Khan, examining how his real-life experiences, both the celebrated and the condemned, contribute to our modern understanding of leadership, conquest, and the complexities of historical memory. Chapter 5: The Early Life of Temujin. Temujin's early life is a remarkable journey of resilience and ambition, setting the stage for his transformation into Genghis Khan, one of history's most formidable leaders. Understanding the depths of his formative years provides insight into the character, leadership qualities, and motivations that would later define his reign. Born around 1162 into the Borjigin clan, Temujin faced significant adversity from the start. His father, Yesugi, was a tribal chief who was poisoned by rival clans when Temujin was a mere child, leaving his family vulnerable and displaced. Following his father's death, Temujin's family, bereft of protection, struggled to survive in an unforgiving Mongolian steppe. For young Temujin, this experience was a crucible shaping his perspective on power, vulnerability, and loyalty. The early years of Temujin's life were marked by hardship. After being abandoned by their tribe, he and his family lived in isolation, relying on the scarce resources available to them. This experience imbued him with a keen understanding of the harsh realities of tribal life and a determination to reclaim his clan's status. Despite their diminished circumstances, it was during this time that Temujin began to forge significant relationships and alliances that would prove crucial in the future. A formative event occurred when Temujin was around 10 years old. He was sent to live with the clan of his future wife, Brt, where he learned critical skills in alliance building, diplomacy, and negotiation. This clan served as an important ally in his later campaigns. Temujin's understanding of the importance of familial and political bonds deepened through these interactions, instilling in him the value of loyalty and collaboration amidst the volatile environment of tribal warfare. As Temujin grew into adolescence, he began to take on leadership roles within his small following, demonstrating an emerging ability to inspire loyalty among his peers. His charisma stood out, and even at a young age, he was determined to unify the Mongolian tribes, recognizing the potential strength that collaboration could provide against common enemies. His initiation into warfare came during various skirmishes against rival clans, where he demonstrated tactical prowess and a remarkable capacity for planning and executing military strategies. The tensions between various tribes culminated in many conflicts, and during these formative years, Temujin faced betrayal and hardship that further forged his iron will. His encounters with adversity taught him critical lessons in trust, betrayal, and the significance of strategic alliances. He cultivated relationships with neighboring clans to consolidate power and resources, often relying on marriage alliances as a tool for political enrichment. As he matured, the emergence of Temujin as a leader was marked by his relentless ambition, adaptability, and strategic foresight. His early experiences in the unforgiving landscape of the Mongolian steppes laid a foundation that would enable him to transform into a visionary leader. This chapter chronicles the events leading to Temujin's awakening as Genghis Khan, highlighting the progression from a boy facing abandonment to the mastermind who would unify the Mongolian tribes and alter the course of history. Chapter 6: The Rise of the Mongol Empire. The rise of the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan marks one of the most remarkable transformations in world history, showcasing a series of strategic decisions and military innovations that enabled the Mongols to conquer vast territories. This chapter explores the complex factors contributing to this meteoric rise, examining Genghis Khan's relentless ambition, unique military strategies, and his aptitude for leadership. Following the unification of the Mongolian tribes in 1206, Genghis Khan's focus shifted towards external conquests as a means to solidify his power and provide resources for his growing empire. With a coalition of previously feuding tribes unified under his leadership, he transformed these disparate groups into a single formidable fighting force, enabling unprecedented military coordination and effectiveness. His ability to integrate the various tribal customs and warfare techniques of his newfound followers played a significant role in their success. Key to Genghis Khan's strategy was mobility. The Mongol warriors, primarily composed of skilled horsemen, excelled in swift and fluid movements on the battlefield. Genghis Khan emphasized the importance of speed and maneuverability, enabling his army to cover vast distances in short amounts of time, often striking unexpectedly. This agility allowed them to engage in multiple fronts simultaneously, overwhelming opponents, and altering the course of traditional warfare. One of the principal military innovations attributed to Genghis Khan was the use of psychological warfare. Rather than solely relying on brute force, the Mongols craftily employed tactics designed to instill fear and confusion among their enemies, using decoys, feigned retreats, and rapid mobility to demoralize opposition forces. Tales of their ferocity, often amplified through word of mouth, contributed to staggering psychological effects that preceded many battles. Enemies were often terrified at the mere thought of facing the Mongol horde. As the Mongol Empire expanded, Genghis Khan's leadership style adapted to encompass effective governance. Recognizing the need for administrative efficiency in the territories he conquered, Khan implemented a meritocratic system that valued loyalty and skill over noble birthrights. This practice attracted talented individuals, regardless of their origin, to serve within his administration, creating a stable and capable government. He also formed alliances with various tribal leaders and even promoted diplomatic missions, paving the way for relationships that provided both economic and military benefits. Genghis Khan understood that alliances could help to secure borders, reduce the need for constant warfare, and maintain relative peace in newly acquired territories. The rise of the Mongol Empire heralded a period of cultural exchange and economic prosperity throughout the region. As the Mongols established control over the Silk Roads, they facilitated trade across Europe and Asia, creating an environment conducive to the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultural practices. Merchants from diverse backgrounds thrived under Mongol rule, leading to a blended culture that reflected the empire's vast reach. This chapter will chronicle the pivotal events that led to the establishment of the Mongol Empire, focusing on military campaigns, governance strategies, and the socio-cultural repercussions of their rise. The ensuing period of the Mongol Empire served as a significant turning point in both regional and global history, leaving an indelible legacy that would influence the course of civilizations for centuries to come. Chapter 7: Military Innovations and Strategies. The military innovations and strategies employed by Genghis Khan were instrumental in establishing the Mongol Empire as a dominant force in history. This chapter provides an in-depth examination of the unique methods and tactics that defined the Mongolian military and contributed to its unparalleled successes across diverse terrains and against formidable foes. For Genghis Khan, military strategy was not merely about brute force. It was intricately tied to innovation and adaptation. One notable innovation was the emphasis on organization and discipline within the Mongol army. The adoption of a decimal system for organizing troops facilitated effective command and control during campaigns. Troops were arranged in units of 10, arvan, 100, zag, 1,000, miangal, and 10,000, tumen, allowing for efficient communication and maneuvering on the battlefield. Furthermore, Genghis Khan's forces excelled in their use of cavalry, relying primarily on horse-mounted soldiers who were both skilled fighters and capable of rapid movement. The Mongolian horsemen were trained from a young age, developing exceptional riding skills that rendered them the most mobile and agile army of their time. They employed multiple horses during campaigns to ensure that soldiers could maintain peak performance without exhausting their mounts. A significant element of Genghis Khan's military success was his ability to integrate diverse tactics from the peoples he encountered. The Mongols adopted valuable techniques from captured enemies, incorporating siege technologies and strategies that had been employed in cities across Central Asia and the Islamic world. This adaptation exemplified Genghis Khan's pragmatic approach to warfare, eschewing pride to gain knowledge that augmented their capabilities. One of the hallmark tactics of the Mongol military was the feigned retreat. This daring maneuver involved a portion of the cavalry pretending to flee in a panic, luring enemy forces into a vulnerable position. Once the enemy advanced, the Mongol soldiers would regroup and counterattack with devastating effect. This tactic not only showcased their superior mobility, but also capitalized on the psychological vulnerabilities of opposing armies. Genghis Khan also championed the use of intelligence and reconnaissance. His scouts were vital for gathering information about enemy movements, terrain, and supply routes, enabling the Mongols to make informed tactical decisions. Understanding the strengths and weaknesses of their opponents allowed the Mongolian forces to effectively exploit vulnerabilities and devise advantageous strategies. In addition to battlefield innovations, Genghis Khan introduced a system of rewards and incentives for his soldiers, fostering a culture of loyalty and camaraderie. Soldiers were rewarded based on their performance in battle, ensuring that all troops had a vested interest in the success of the campaign. This meritocratic approach not only motivated individual performance, but also enhanced cohesion within the units. This chapter will closely analyze key military campaigns where these innovations were put to the test, highlighting battles that defined the Mongol approach to warfare. The combination of organization, adaptation, and tactical ingenuity contributed significantly to the military prowess of Genghis Khan, shaping the dynamics of power across Eurasia and laying the groundwork for the Mongol Empire's expansive reach. Chapter 8: Genghis Khan's Diplomatic Ventures. Genghis Khan's prowess extended beyond military conquest. His diplomatic ventures played a critical role in establishing and maintaining the vast Mongol Empire. This chapter examines the multifaceted nature of his diplomatic strategies, showcasing how they complemented his military campaigns and contributed to the empire's longevity. At the heart of Genghis Khan's diplomatic engagements was his recognition of the importance of relationships with neighboring states and tribes. He understood that fostering peaceful relations could often yield greater advantages than outright warfare. This strategic mindset allowed the Mongol Empire to expand its influence while minimizing unnecessary bloodshed. One of the first significant diplomatic initiatives was Genghis Khan's approach to the Khwarezmian Empire. After establishing a preliminary alliance with the Khwarezmian Shah, Muhammad II, the Mongols sought to improve trade relations. However, when diplomatic communication failed and a delegation of Mongol envoys was murdered, Genghis Khan quickly shifted from diplomacy to warfare, illustrating his adaptable response to the complexities of international relations. In addition to martial diplomacy, Genghis Khan was adept at employing marriage alliances to secure bonds with powerful families and leaders. By marrying his daughters to various princes and tribal chiefs, he forged alliances that provided crucial support and loyalty among newly acquired territories. These strategic marriages were vital in consolidating power and facilitating communication across vast distances. Furthermore, Genghis Khan often granted religious tolerance to the peoples within his empire, allowing diverse faiths to thrive under Mongol rule. This policy not only engendered goodwill among conquered subjects, but also encouraged the exchange of ideas. Alexander the Great, the boy who became a god, reading and published by Mr. Books. In the annals of history, few figures shine as brightly as Alexander the Great, whose ambition, strategic brilliance, and unyielding courage transformed him from a mere boy in the royal palace of Macedonia into one of the most legendary conquerors of all time. Born in 356 BCE to King Philip II and Queen Olympias, Alexander's early life was painted against a backdrop of fierce political intrigue and philosophical enlightenment. His father, a formidable monarch, established Macedon as a dominant power, while his mother, a woman of fierce will, instilled in him the belief that he was destined for greatness. This unique upbringing set the stage for a life marked not just by military prowess, but also by profound cultural influence. This work aims to illuminate the fascinating journey of a young prince who, against daunting odds, rose to become a godlike figure in the eyes of his followers and adversaries alike. The prologue and each subsequent chapter will explore significant milestones in Alexander's life, providing insights into his character, his motivations, and the historical context in which he lived. We begin with the prologue, examining the enduring legacy of his conquests, and then move through pivotal segments of his adolescence and early reign. The narrative will culminate in an exploration of his military campaigns, particularly the Siege of Tyre, famed for its formidable defenses, showcasing Alexander's innovative strategies and unyielding spirit. As we delve into the Siege of Tyre in Chapter 6, we will witness the resilience and tenacity that characterized Alexander's approach to warfare, revealing how these traits not only secured his victories, but also solidified his reputation as a deity among men. The story will not merely dwell on the battles he fought, but will also reveal the profound impact of his philosophical education and the influence of mentors, notably Aristotle, who guided his early understanding of ethics, governance, and the world. The epilogue will reflect on the legacy that Alexander left behind, an empire that stretched from the shores of Greece to the vast expanses of India, intertwining cultures, philosophies, and peoples in a manner that has echoed through subsequent centuries. By examining both the legendary and the historical aspects of Alexander's life, this book endeavors to provide a comprehensive portrait of a man who not only aspired to become a god, but, through his actions and achievements, seemed to achieve immortality in the hearts and minds of those who lived in his grand shadow. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now, let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Conqueror. Alexander's journey began long before he first took to the battlefield. His birth in 356 BCE in Pella, the capital of Macedonia, marked the advent of a ruler whose ambition would soon know no bounds. Surrounded by a tumultuous political landscape, Alexander was the son of Philippi IA king, renowned for his military acumen and statesmanship, and Olympias, a woman steeped in mysticism and ambition. This formidable parental influence provided him with a robust foundation from which to launch his extraordinary career. From an early age, Alexander exhibited traits that would later define his character. According to ancient historians, even as a toddler, he displayed an insatiable curiosity and an unyielding thirst for knowledge, characteristics that would serve him well. His education was paramount, largely facilitated by the renowned philosopher Aristotle. This intellectual mentoring began at the age of 13, during which Aristotle instilled in him the principles of Greek philosophy, ethics, and the importance of cultural understanding. These formative years shaped Alexander's worldview, fostering a deep respect for knowledge, governance, and the arts, which he would later carry into his conquests. However, it was not just intellect that primed Alexander for greatness, it was also his innate charisma and leadership qualities. His early experiences in the Macedonian court, characterized by fierce rivalries and political maneuvering, taught him the value of strategy and the importance of alliances. His father's efforts to unite the fractious tribes of Greece underscored the necessity of diplomacy, an area in which Alexander excelled through his natural charm and persuasive abilities. Simultaneously, Alexander was exposed to the harsh realities of power and violence from a young age. Witnessing his father's military campaigns, he learned the value of discipline and the intricacies of battle strategy. These experiences, combined with tales of heroic figures from Greek mythology, fueled Alexander's imagination and ambition. He was not merely a spectator in his father's world, but an eager participant, yearning to carve his own legacy in the annals of history. The turning point in Alexander's life came following the assassination of his father in 336 BCE. At just 20 years old, he ascended to the throne amidst political chaos and unrest. His immediate challenge was to quash dissent among the factions that sought to undermine his rule. Demonstrating tremendous resolve, Alexander swiftly neutralized threats from former allies and established his authority over the Macedonian throne. In a series of decisive actions, he secured his power base, ensuring that any challenge to his reign was swiftly quelled. Furthermore, Alexander's desire for conquest became apparent as he turned his gaze toward Persia, the expansive empire that had long been a royal adversary. His vision extended beyond mere expansion. He saw the potential for cultural amalgamation and the spread of Hellenistic ideals. This ambition was not only about territorial gain, but also about the dissemination of Greek culture and political concepts throughout the known world. Ultimately, Alexander's early years were defined by a confluence of intellectual development, political acumen, and a yearning for glory. These formative experiences forged a leader who would captivate the world with his unprecedented achievements and ambitious vision. The chapters that follow will delve into the pivotal moments that transformed Alexander from a young prince into a military commander of legendary status, tracing his steps through the annals of history as he began his storied journey across continents. Chapter 2. Lessons from the Lyceum. The Lyceum, where Alexander received his early education, was more than just an institution of learning. It was a crucible for critical thinking and philosophical debate. Founded by Aristotle in Athens, it became a significant influence on Alexander's intellectual and moral development. Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of all time, recognized the potential in his young pupil and tailored his teaching to mold Alexander into a thinker and a leader. Most scholars agree that Aristotle's curriculum was comprehensive, covering diverse subjects such as ethics, politics, philosophy, and the sciences. The philosophical tenets and moral frameworks imparted by Aristotle laid the groundwork for Alexander's future decisions as a ruler. Mathematics and astronomy were also part of his education skills that would later aid his navigational strategies during military campaigns. Aristotle's emphasis on reason and observation prepared Alexander to approach problems with a logical mindset, a trait he would rely upon as he ventured into the complexities of governance and warfare. Among the many lessons, the concept of the ideal ruler stood out to Alexander. Aristotle argued that a ruler should possess both wisdom and virtue, embodying the characteristics admired by the populace. This ideal resonated with Alexander, who, striving for greatness, sought to embody these attributes. His subsequent endeavors would often reflect a commitment to this ideal, as he pursued not only military victories, but also the hearts and minds of the people he governed. Moreover, the Lyceum fostered a sense of inquiry in Alexander. He learned to challenge preconceived notions and engage in philosophical discourse. This intellectual curiosity prompted him to question the norms of the time and consider alternative perspectives. This mindset was pivotal during his later campaigns, where understanding the cultures he sought to conquer played a crucial role in his military strategies. In addition to formal teachings, the Lyceum facilitated discussions on ethics and governance that would define Alexander's worldview. He was taught about the importance of justice and the responsibilities of a ruler towards his subjects. This foundation in ethics guided him as he battled for territories, and, ultimately, as he sought to govern vast populations with diverse customs and beliefs. As Alexander matured, he became deeply influenced by the idea of cultural superiority, a notion that he grappled with throughout his conquests. Inspired by the teachings of Aristotle, he believed that the spread of Greek culture would elevate the societies he encountered, leading to a more unified and enlightened world. This belief played a pivotal role in his decisions, motivating him to engage with local customs, even as he sought to impose Hellenistic ideals. The impact of the Lyceum on Alexander cannot be overstated. The knowledge and philosophical insights gained during these formative years equipped him with essential tools as he navigated the complexities of leadership. Indeed, Aristotle's teachings were a compass that guided Alexander through the labyrinth of political intrigue and military strategy he would face as he embarked on his extraordinary campaigns. In hindsight, the lessons from the Lyceum were instrumental in shaping a ruler who would be both revered and feared. Combining intellectual rigor with ambition, Alexander emerged as a leader who aspired to greatness not only through military conquests, but also through the promotion of knowledge and culture. His intellectual legacy would become intertwined with his military achievements as he sought to create a world that blended the best of Greek civilization with the vast diversity of the territories he conquered. Chapter 3: The Early Exploits of the Young King. As Alexander ascended to the throne of Macedon, the geopolitical landscape was fraught with challenges and opportunities. His early exploits as king saw him confront not only external enemies, but also internal dissent, encapsulating the dual pressures of consolidating power and pursuing military ambitions. Emerging from the shadow of his father, Philip I Alexander was determined to carve a unique identity, one that would resonate through the annals of history. The first test of Alexander's mettle came swiftly. With news of his father's assassination still reverberating throughout the realm, he faced immediate threats from discontented factions within Macedonia and former allies who sought to reclaim autonomy. Displaying remarkable decisiveness, Alexander embarked on a campaign to silence dissent. He executed conspirators who threatened his legitimacy, demonstrating a brutal efficiency that reflected the fierce resolve he had cultivated during his upbringing. Consolidating his power was just the beginning. With his grip on Macedon secure, Alexander turned his attention to the greater Greek world. For years, Philip I had meticulously established Macedonian dominance over Greece, and Alexander was determined to uphold that legacy. The Balkan states, though previously united under Philip's banner, were on the brink of rebellion, eager to challenge Macedonian authority. Alexander's first major military effort involved quelling these uprisings by displaying overwhelming force. In 335 BCE, he marched south to Thebes, the once dominant rival of Macedon. Recognizing the strategic importance of Thebes as a potent symbol of Greek defiance, Alexander sought to set an example that would deter future insurrections. The siege was swift and brutal. The city was overwhelmed, its leaders executed, and many citizens sold into slavery. The destruction of Thebes sent shockwaves across Greece, asserting not only Alexander's military capabilities, but also his unyielding dedication to his father's vision of a unified empire. Having pacified Thebes, Alexander proceeded to secure his southern flank through the conquest of Athens. Knowing that prolonged conflict would drain resources and morale, he opted for a strategy of negotiation combined with the threat of force. The Athenians, recognizing their precarious position, quickly submitted to Alexander's authority, thus assuring peace and allowing him to focus on his grander ambitions. His approach toward Athens would set the tone for how he interacted with the city-states of Greece, balancing diplomacy and military strength. With Greece largely under his control, Alexander's eyes turned towards the east, the vast Persian Empire, which stood as both a formidable challenge and an enticing opportunity for glory. His ambition was not merely to expand his territory, but to avenge the past, when the Persian army had invaded Greece during the Greco-Persian Wars. This deeply ingrained desire for retribution and expansion became the crucible for Alexander's larger-than-life persona. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed into Asia Minor, embarking on the campaign that would alter the course of history. His forces engaged the Persians for the first time at the Battle of Granicus, where strategic brilliance and boldness would define the young king's military prowess. The battle was a critical turning point, not only securing Alexander's position among his troops, but also cementing his reputation as a military leader of extraordinary capability. His victory at Granicus marked the beginning of a series of stunning military successes that would soon follow. Throughout these early exploits, Alexander displayed a leanness of focus and determination that belied his age. He wielded power with an iron fist, yet simmered with an underlying charisma that attracted soldiers and allies alike. As he navigated through these initial challenges, his legendary ambition was ignited, propelling him along a path that would soon see him ascend to the pantheon of historical greatness. Alexander's early exploits serve as a testament to how adeptly he merged military strategy with psychological warfare, often outmaneuvering not only opposing armies, but also the political uncertainties of his time. These moments of decisive action set the stage for the monumental challenges he would face in the broader context of his campaigns against Persia and beyond. Through this combination of tactical acumen and bold ambition, Alexander began to establish himself as a leader capable of altering the trajectory of civilizations. Chapter 4. The Battle of Granicus, Forging a Leader. The Battle of Granicus, fought in May 334 BCE, stands as one of the significant early confrontations in Alexander the Great's quest to conquer the Persian Empire. This battle was not just a mere clash of arms. It was a defining moment that forged Alexander's identity as a military leader and laid the groundwork for a series of victories that would echo through history. Upon entering Asia Minor, Alexander found himself at a strategic crossroads. The Persian forces awaited him across the Granicus River, consisting of the Persian satraps and their mercenary allies. Their numerical superiority was daunting, yet Alexander possessed a keen understanding of the ethos of warfare and the spirit of his troops. His army, composed of veterans of Philippi I's campaigns, was elite and well-trained, brimming with confidence from their previous conquests in Greece. Before the battle commenced, Alexander took a moment to inspire his troops. He understood that the key to victory lay not only in military tactics, but also in the morale of his men. Standing before them, he invoked the memory of their deceased comrades, stressing the honor that awaited them by striking against the arch-rivals of the Greeks. He made a vow to reclaim the territory that the Persians had once threatened, rallying his men with fiery words that stirred their spirits. As dawn broke, the clashing of swords and the shouts of soldiers filled the air. Alexander initiated the assault by leading his cavalry across the river, a bold move that would define the trajectory of the engagement. His decision to directly confront the Persian forces displayed audacious bravery, but more importantly, it showcased his belief in mobility and speed. The Persians, taken aback by the suddenness of the attack, initially struggled to organize a defense. The battle unfolded chaotically, yet Alexander's strategic foresight played a critical role. He identified the Persian general, Mithridates, in their formations and made him a target. Persuading his cavalry units to engage, Alexander pushed through the enemy lines, demonstrating remarkable skill in hand-to-hand combat. The encounter culminated in a personal duel, where Alexander's sword struck true, leading to the immediate demoralization of the Persian forces. What transpired was not just a tactical victory, it was a psychological triumph. The Persian forces, previously confident in their numbers, found their phalanx crumbling in the wake of Alexander's relentless charge. The loss of their key general contributed to the chaos within the Persian ranks, leading to widespread panic across their formation. The outcome of Granicus solidified Alexander's reputation as a formidable force and earned him the undying loyalty of his troops. Following the rout of the Persians, Alexander's forces moved swiftly to capitalize on their victory. He demonstrated not only military brilliance, but also strategic wisdom by securing key Persian cities along the coast of Asia Minor. Each city that fell under his control reinforced his standing among the Greeks, who began to see Alexander as a liberator rather than an invading force. His strategic acumen culminated in a series of negotiations with local populations, often resulting in voluntary submissions and alliances that further his cause. The aftermath of the Battle of Granicus also saw Alexander engaging in a vital sanction of public relations. Understanding the value of narrative in the ancient world, he worked to cultivate an image as a heroic figure destined for greatness. He cast the encounter as a battle for freedom from Persian oppression, a narrative that resonated with the Greeks and inspired further support for his campaign. Additionally, Granicus served as a learning experience. While Alexander's victory was unequivocal, it highlighted the need to refine tactics in future encounters. He recognized the importance of integrating light infantry and archers into his cavalry formations, a move that would mitigate the often unpredictable nature of warfare. His initial brush with large-scale combat reinforced a crucial adage: adaptability is essential for sustenance in warfare. In retrospect, the Battle of Granicus not only showcased Alexander's military ingenuity, but also marked his transformation into a legendary figure of history. The event propelled his career forward, laying the foundations for subsequent victories against the formidable Persian Empire. With each triumph, he solidified his reputation, enabling him to transcend the ordinary limits of kingship into the realm of deity. As Alexander continued to conquer new territories, the lessons learned at Granicus would accompany him, guiding his actions and strategies as he ventured onward. His path was clear. Not only would he expand the frontiers of his empire, but he would also carve a destiny that would immortalize him as one of history's true titans. The legend of Alexander, the boy who became a god, was just beginning to take shape. Chapter 5. The Siege of Tyre, an unyielding spirit. The Siege of Tyre, conducted over the course of 7 months in 332 BCA, stands as one of the most remarkable undertakings in Alexander's military career. Tyre, a city located on an island off the coast of modern-day Lebanon, represented a significant logistical and strategic challenge. The city was renowned for its formidable fortifications, maritime prowess, and wealth, making it a jewel in the crown of Persian interests in the region. For Alexander, the siege was not merely a military endeavor. It was a test of his ingenuity, perseverance, and tactical brilliance. Arriving at Tyre after a string of successful campaigns in the Levant, Alexander immediately recognized the importance of capturing the city. Not only would it secure his supply lines and provide a crucial harbor for further operations against the Persian Empire, but it also symbolized the power of Hellenistic influence over a region heavily under Persian dominion. The stakes were high, and Alexander understood that the conquest of Tyre would send a potent signal to friend and foe alike. As he approached the island city, Alexander found his forces faced with a well-prepared adversary. Tyre's defenses were exceptional, with massive stone walls rising high above the sea, rendering any conventional assault nearly impossible. The Tyrians, confident in their fortifications and supported by a robust naval fleet, prepared to defend their city with unwavering resolve. Faced with these challenges, Alexander displayed remarkable adaptability. Instead of abandoning the siege or relying solely on traditional military tactics, he opted to employ a multifaceted approach that leveraged both military ingenuity and engineering prowess. One of his most audacious decisions was to construct a causeway, a massive earthwork that would allow his troops to approach the city's walls directly. This endeavor not only highlighted Alexander's tactical vision, but also his commitment to ensuring that the siege would succeed. The construction of the causeway, spanning nearly half a mile across the water, was a monumental task. Alexander's men worked tirelessly, transporting stones and rubble to build a secure path to the city. As laborers toiled under the elements, they faced constant harassment from Tyrian archers and naval forces attempting to thwart their efforts. However, Alexander's presence on the ground inspired his troops to persevere, showcasing his leadership and unyielding spirit. With the causeway completed and a more direct assault now possible, Alexander turned his attention to the city's defenses. The Tyrrhenian navy remained a significant factor in the siege, harassing his men and attempting to resupply the city. Displaying tactical acumen once again, Alexander sought to neutralize this threat. He forged alliances with neighboring city-states, securing a contingent of ships that would allow him to match the power of Tyre's fleet. The combination of naval engagements and land assaults soon tilted the balance of power. As Alexander's ships entered the fray, they effectively controlled the waters surrounding Tyre, disrupting the city's supply lines and limiting its ability to receive reinforcements. Thus embattled, the Tyrians resorted to desperate measures as supplies dwindled, compounding their struggles against Alexander's determined forces. Despite these difficulties, the siege's harsh realities took their toll on Alexander's army as well. With protracted warfare comes attrition, supplies became scarce, morale waned, and the constant threat of disease loomed over his soldiers. Nevertheless, Alexander's resolve was infectious, and through his charismatic leadership, he motivated his troops to remain steadfast in their commitment to the cause. Finally, after months of hardship and fierce fighting, the tide of the siege began to turn. Alexander's relentless assaults and strategic maneuvers ultimately led to the breach of Tyre's formidable walls. Once inside the city, the battle quickly turned chaotic. The unyielding spirit of the defenders clashed violently against Alexander's disciplined troops, leading to fierce street-to-street combat. This phase of the siege was bloody and brutal, with heavy casualties on both sides. Ultimately, the fall of Tyre on July 29, 332 BCE marked a decisive victory for Alexander. Having captured the city, he ordered the execution of prominent leaders and the enslavement of thousands. However, his approach also revealed a more complex aspect of his character. While ruthless, he also recognized the value of integrating the inhabitants of conquered cities into his expanding empire. Alexander established a new civic order, allowing those who pledged loyalty to him to thrive under his rule. The siege of Tyre became emblematic of Alexander's multifaceted approach to warfare, demonstrating how innovation, determination, and tactical brilliance could culminate in victory against seemingly insurmountable odds. It served as a pivotal moment that crystallized his reputation as a commander who could inspire and lead, transcending traditional notions of kingship. As Alexander continued his campaign into Egypt and the heart of the Persian Empire, the lessons learned and sacrifices made during the siege of Tyre informed both his military strategy and his vision for an empire that would bridge cultures and perspectives. Tyre, once a formidable bastion of resistance, would now stand testament to the relentless spirit of a boy who had become a god, a conqueror of both kingdoms and hearts. Chapter 6. The Persian Campaign, a god among mortals. The sun rose over the vast plains of Persia, casting a golden hue across the endless ranks of Alexander's army. The year was 330 BCE, and the Macedonian king, now in his mid-20s, stood at the pinnacle of his ambition. Having defeated Darius at Gaugamela, Alexander had shattered the Persian Empire's core, claiming Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis. Yet, his heart burned with a fire unquenched, driven by a vision that transcended mortal limits to be a god among men, to unite the known world under one rule. The Persian campaign was no mere conquest. It was a crucible that forged Alexander's legend. In the labyrinthine streets of Babylon, he was hailed as liberator, his name whispered in awe by those who once bowed to Persian kings. In Persepolis, the heart of Achaemenid power, he burned the palace of Xerxes, a symbolic act of vengeance for the Greco-Persian wars. But it was in the pursuit of Darius, across deserts and mountains, that Alexander's divine aura grew. His men, hardened by years of relentless marches, saw in him a force beyond human endurance, a man who wept for his fallen horse Bucephalus, yet pressed onward, unyielding. The campaign revealed Alexander's duality, the brilliant strategist and the reckless dreamer. He adopted Persian customs, donning their robes and integrating their nobles into his court, much to the chagrin of his Macedonian companions. To them, he was drifting from the rugged warrior king they knew, becoming an oriental despot. Yet to the Persians, he was a magnanimous ruler, sparing their lives and honoring their traditions. This balancing act was no mere diplomacy. It was Alexander's attempt to meld East and West, to create a new world order with himself as its divine architect. But the cost was steep. Mutinies simmered among his men, exhausted by endless campaigns. The murder of Darius by his own satraps, Bessos, forced Alexander to chase a new enemy into the wilds of Bactria. Each step eastward stretched his empire thinner, his dream teetering on the edge of obsession. At the Gedrosian desert, his army suffered its greatest losses, not to swords but to sand and starvation. Thousands perished, their bones bleaching under a merciless sun. Yet Alexander marched at their side, sharing their hunger, his eyes fixed on a horizon only he could see. By the time he reached the borders of India, Alexander was no longer just a king. To the Persians, he was a god-king; to the Greeks, a hero verging on hubris. His campaign had redrawn the map, but it had also reshaped him. The boy who once sat at Aristotle's feet now sat on the throne of Darius, his ambition a flame that consumed all in its path, friends, foes, and even himself. Epilogue: the continuation of Alexander's legend. Alexander's death, in 323 BCE, at the age of 32, was as sudden as a thunderclap. In Babylon, the city he had made his own, fever claimed the man who seemed invincible. Some whispered of poison, others of divine retribution, but the truth was simpler. His body, worn by wounds and relentless campaigns, could no longer bear the weight of his spirit. He left no clear heir, only a cryptic command that his empire go to the strongest. The empire fractured, his generals the Diadochi, carving it into kingdoms of their own. Yet, Alexander's shadow loomed larger than their squabbles. His vision of a cosmopolitan world, blending Greek and Eastern cultures, took root in the Hellenistic kingdoms that followed. Cities named Alexandria, from Egypt to the Indus, became beacons of learning and trade, their libraries and markets echoing his dream of unity. His legend grew with each retelling. To the Romans, he was a model of conquest; to medieval poets, a knight-errant; to modern scholars, a paradox of genius and madness. Temples were built in his name, and stories of his deeds, some true, some woven from myth, spread across continents. The man who sought to be a god became one, not through immortality, but through the enduring power of his name. Alexander's life was a comet, blazing briefly but illuminating the world. He showed what a single man could achieve with will and vision, but also the price of chasing divinity. His empire crumbled, but his legend endures, a testament to the mortal who dared to reach for the stars. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.